Welcome back to another episode of Jason's Bricks and 5, where we discuss Lego content in videos of around 5 minutes. Time for another weekly Lego review, and you may recall last week I mentioned this month I'm going to be reviewing Legohouse sets, and today is actually the 1-year anniversary of when we arrived in Billund last year, on March 10th. It was notable for another reason in that those of you that watch my channel for a while may recall I worked for a company called Silicon Valley Bank at the time, so literally about the time we arrived in Billund, I got notice that my company had been dissolved, so to speak. But irregardless, we're not going to speak about that today. We're going to talk about this set. This is set 21037. This is the Legohouse. It's one of the architecture sets. So I picked this up when I was at Legohouse last year, so we're going to go ahead and build it and see what we think. As always, we'll start with the build experience. Now, this set contains 774 pieces. And this was actually my first Lego architecture set experience I have ever built. While there wasn't anything that I found to be revolutionary about the build, such as unique parts or build techniques that are used just for the architecture set, I did find it to be an interesting build process that I enjoyed. Now, as far as the details in this set, the build is a very good small representation of Legohouse. A few details that stand out from the build as memorable icons that I remember from my visit are, for example, the colored steps on the exterior, the tree of creativity, which is in the heart of Legohouse and is also in the heart of this build. And lastly, the brick-built skylight over the master gallery in the main part. Here's a view of what they look like at the actual Legohouse. So I think it's a neat touch that they've captured, and overall I'm happy with the details of this set. As for the displayability of the set does look really good and is a good representation of what it is supposed to be. And it doesn't take up much space as far as a footprint on the shelf. The one downside to the displayability is that it has a low profile and makes it much less noticeable on a higher shelf. For that reason, I've chosen to display mine at an angle, so it's a little bit more visible. But overall, I'm happy with the displayability. As you would expect with an architecture set, there are no minifigures included, but it makes sense because they would look like oversized monsters. Now, as for the uniqueness of this set, an architecture set based on a building from the Lego company is unique in its own right. However, I think that the fact that this set is a regional exclusive makes it even that much more unique, especially in today's Lego environment. Lego seems to have gone away from regional exclusives, yet this is a set that can only be purchased not only at Legohouse, but also on the European version of Lego.com. Now, as for the value, this set cost 449 Danish crowns, or about $66 US with today's money. Using the widely accepted 10-cent per piece target, this would seem to be a good value. However, I would warn that the set leans heavily towards small parts, just due to the type of the build that it is. That being said, for me, the value wasn't so much in the parts or the quantity of parts, but more tied to the regional exclusivity, and that is what made it more desirable in my opinion. I can definitely see this hold more value for either a big architecture collector or someone that has been to Legohouse. So everything is done. It's just time for my final thoughts, and I guess what I would have to say on this, I see this as something, if you've been to Legohouse or if you're an architecture fan, that this is something that might actually really have appeal to you. However, if you've not actually been there or you just aren't a fan of the architecture set, I see it not having nearly as much of a draw because you just don't identify with, kind of some of the things about it. And I think that's okay. It's interesting that Lego has kind of gone away from having regional exclusive sets, and yet this one still kind of remains one of those. But it's somewhat easily accessible. I don't know that the value is going to be there for everyone, I guess would be my point. It's decent looking on a shelf. Most people wouldn't automatically recognize what it is if they've not been to Legohouse. Fortunately, I guess it's got the plaque. But I've made the decision to display it at an angle on my shelf so that you can kind of get a better overall view, especially where it sits. It's a little bit higher. So anyways, that's going to do it for my review of the Legohouse architecture set. Let me know what you think. Next week, join me. We're going to review some other sets. I have probably one of my most rare sets we're going to review next week. So, and that one I got when I was in Billund as well. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Jason's Bricks and 5. Happy building!